3 million people, 3 1 million man camps that we know of they built in 2006. I showed you Wall Street Journal. I can show you Houston Chronicle. And I mentioned that, and the trolls and disinfo operatives run around and say we're making it up. So there's the information, ladies and gentlemen. I got to move quick now because we've got to continue with the other news. But this is so big. They're now activating the camps right as they pass the laws to use the military on us to secretly arrest us, and as they list protesters as terrorists. Right as all of this is going on, it is so incredibly creepy. And then they always claim it's popular, oh, it's for illegals. Folks, they just deport illegals in a very small number in show events. This is about the American people. That's what this is about. And they're looking at old jails and other facilities all over the country. When I went to Hardin, Montana, I snuck in when the tour guide wasn't looking for like 40 seconds, jumped into the main office, ran up and shot video, and it said, you know, civilian internment and all the rest of it. And I shot video and put it in the police state film. I mean, literally, while she's answering a phone, hold on one moment, I'll answer the phone. I'm like, into the room, videotaping. I mean, and then popping back out. This is what we go through to bring you this information. And this criminal government is geared up to wage war against us. This is so incredible. I hope you get this information out to everybody. Again, the headline, exclusive, government activating FEMA camps across the U.S. They've denied they're there. Now they admit they're there. Now they're activating them. Do you understand the magnitude of this? They are now activating them. In fact, hit refresh on that because I've asked Kurt to add, the front graphic there of the 5 regions there, because that's what I want at the top. If not, give him a call because that's what I want. Yep, there it is. Good. He's got it all up. It's an incredibly detailed article that we spent a lot of time on today. And I hope that you get this out to everybody you know. All right, I've got to move on now. I've got to move on here. Again, right as they get ready to implode the economy, launch war with Iran, China is threatening to have war with us. Right as all this happens, and the head of the U.S.-Japanese Citizens Group says they're worried about what happened to them. People who'd lived here in some cases over 100 years, business owners, had their property taken, never got it back, worked as slave labor. They didn't line them up and shoot them in the back of the head like the Nazis, but I'm sorry, folks. I'm not going to some camp for 4 or 5 years, okay? The people that try this are criminals, and we've tried to warn you. So people need to get ready for this. We don't need to act like the Germans or the Russians and go along with this. We need to get the word out right now and use the information war and the power of the pen while we still can peaceably to avert what's happening. Okay, let's continue with what I was just getting into. Iran reportedly is preparing for an attack. China is also coming out. China's WHO urges Navy to prepare for combat and talks about the United States building up, as we told you months ago, secretly all around China and setting up secret military bases in surrounding countries. And again, it's not the U.S. The banks have taken over the U.S. I'm not saying the communist Chinese are good either. The point is that the world is imploding. China was sold trillions in fake derivatives and fake mortgages. They're angry. This is just insane. Iran says prepare for attack. Now the U.S. and Israel admit they've been blowing stuff up in Iran, blowing up their bases. I mean, it is just getting crazier and crazier by the minute. And it's no doubt they're now putting the bid out. They're not going to man emergency camps all over the country to play patty cake. Oh, just off the charts insane. All right, shifting gears into the main players, the mega banks. They've put out public actuaries and reports that we've talked about for years where they've said they're going to first cut people's benefits and Social Security and similar government pensions around the world, and then they're going to go after private pensions. And they've already started this spin that, well, your private pension needs to be given as bailout to the mega banks that created the tens of trillions, well, actually 1,500 trillion in fake money. See, the ones that engineered this, they're always the ones lecturing us, and now you have the United States of Goldman Sachs is what they're calling it in Europe and bragging about it. And now Portugal raids pension funds to meet deficit targets. Portugal has raided 5.6 billion euros or 4.8 billion pounds of pension fund assets in a controversial scramble to meet deficit targets, which are set. The same thing they've done to third world countries, the IMF and World Bank. They're now doing it to Europe, and they're going to do it here. We're in worse shape than Europe. They're just bankrupting them first. And notice, every country they take over that supposedly is going to fix it, and then spreads. We even told you what countries were coming next. Portugal said it informed EU and IMF and assured them that it would be a one-off. We're only taking part of your pension this one time. However, the 2010 budget was met by shifting 3 pension plans from Portugal Telecom onto the public Social Security system. So it's what they're going to do here. They raid your private money. This isn't calling Social Security welfare or devaluing your dollar and then saying, so what? This is taking your private money that under government mandates they make you put in a private fund. That's why all these plans are bad. And then the old timers knew, don't keep your money in your mattress or in the backyard buried. This is, they put it into government, who then takes part of it as part of the custodial thing, on top of the giant taxes in Europe. I mean, Portugal's got taxes on average of about 65%. And the banks are all exempt. You read about the big mega banks are international. They write the laws where they pay zero tax. And then they lobby all day to raise taxes on middle class, which they're just getting rid of. I mean, this is coming here. This is coming here. In fact, continuing with the news, anxious Greeks emptying their bank accounts. And Der Spiegel, the big German publication, criticizes, says, oh, you'll hurt the economy not trusting the banks and the government. What choice do they have? They're raising all these dozens of new taxes to pay off the trillions of dollars Greece doesn't owe. And the people are saying, well, if you're just going to grab my account now that Goldman Sachs openly controls all the banks and says they'll take whoever money they want, and they've got EU police going around literally shaking down businesses on new VAT taxes, the people are doing all they can. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Again, they always blame the victims. 90+% of Greece's debt not owed by the people. Their criminal government signed on to the globalist bankers' debt. Iceland's the model. They're the one country for over a year to say no. They finally got the finance minister out and found out 90+% of the debt was not theirs. It was all the mega banks lecturing them and saying they were going to shut down air travel and blockade the tiny country of 400,000 if they didn't pay a couple $100,000 per individual in this bank bailout deal. I mean, sign on to be total debt slaves. Again, and you don't owe the money. I keep harping on this. There's an Economic Times report. I also saw it in AFP. Amazing. Is the threat of homegrown U.S. terror suspects overblown? The numbers remain relatively small, said German author of the book, Thinking Like a Terrorist. Yeah, that's the former FBI agent. It's not a non-existent problem, but certainly not something new and growing. I want to get him on. He was also in that Ventura special, talking about the threat fusion centers being a martial law takeover program. That's important. Continuing, Paul goes on nude attack as yet another Iowa poll shows surging support. Ron Paul is clearly number 2 in Iowa now, with the media still trying to ignore him, but that's really an endorsement. And he's got new videos out exposing the incredible flip-flopping of Newt Gingrich. So that is paramount right now to expose Newt for all of his open borders, amnesty stuff, giant new taxes, doesn't like the family, wants world government, supports Obamacare, government mandate, single payer, everything. Banker bailouts, everything. So very, very important. And another article on Gingrich by Paul Joseph Watson. Newt Gingrich says let mad scientists terraform the planet or geoengineer it. Presidential frontrunner is geoengineering advocate. While saying this doesn't exist, he and the White House science czar and the CFR as well are endorsing the ongoing project to manipulate the weather. They admit it's going on, but say don't worry about it, don't ask questions. And NASA says the Earth is 22% darker than it was a decade ago. Presidential frontrunner goes on to say Republican presidential frontrunner Newt Gingrich, geoengineering is a product of the harebrained and potentially catastrophic scientific fringe that postulates that using airliners to dump huge amounts of sulfur into the atmosphere, injecting the oceans with nitrogen, and parking giant spaceships above the Earth to block out the sun is necessary to avert global warming. It's really about them playing God. Now, we're going to go to break and come back with anthropologist, sociologist, statistician. We're going to be talking with Patrick Dew on the other side of this break and ask the question, Are the media purposefully ignoring Ron Paul? And he's done his own breakdown with public numbers and found what other scientific researchers have. He's got some shocking findings. Stay with us. We'll be back. If you believe in this information and want to support its viral spread, go to the INFOWARS store at INFOWARS.com. We've got the new G.I. Joe INFOWARS t-shirts. We've got the incredible Pro Pure gravity-fed filters available at INFOWARS.com in the store. We've got a new DVD, Scientists Under Attack, the Don't Tread on Me flag. We've got all sorts of different bumper stickers to help spread the rebellion virally. It's all there. Wristbands, citizen rule books in every order. Order online at INFOWARS.com today. The water filters, the canteens, it's all there. INFOWARS.com. And we are back. It is the second segment of INFOWARS Nightly News here every evening, 7 o'clock Central, streaming out at PRISONPLANET.tv and INFOWARS Nightly News. I say that because if you're watching this on YouTube or one of the thousands of other video sites where we have millions of viewers every week, I'd like you to remember that there are moves for internet kill switches, selective enforcement against alternative media, and a whole constellation of different systems being launched to not just surveil the internet, but to restrict the type of information that's on it. And I want to thank those that are subscribers to PrisonPlanet.tv for making this possible, especially with the unbelievable news that we broke in the last segment, that the federal government is now activating the FEMA camps that they admittedly have been building since the 1980s and accelerated the construction of after the staged events of 9/11. This is incredible information, but being aware of it and speaking out against it can stop it. This, of course, all on the heels of the draconian National Defense Authorization Act and the announcement that they'll use the military on the streets of America against the American people, indefinite detention. We're not in Kansas anymore. Now, it's come out in several big studies, scientific studies, Pew Research and others, what our lion eyes have already told us. Ron Paul gets 89 seconds in a presidential CBS debate. The next candidate gets 2.5 minutes. Others got more than 10 minutes. That's a way to censor him and basically ban him from the event without actually doing it, because then he would get some attention being totally blacked out and blacklisted or, a form of McCarthy-type censorship. And, of course, we've seen the examples of what coverage he does get is incredibly negative. But our very own director of INFOWARS Nightly News, Rob Dew's brother, is a statistical analysis sociologist and researcher at Texas State University. He's also working there on his master's in gerontology, or the care and study of the old, certainly good with this aging population. He's with us because he's taken the numbers in the big Pew Research piece and crunched it himself and come up with some other interesting information. Now, he finished this a few months ago. Since then, the numbers have even gotten stronger.